All right, we're recording. All right, well, thank you guys for coming today, and thank you, Susan, for joining online. Susan, if you had any questions during the whole presentation, feel free to just like interrupt, say something. I don't mind. We are a room of 3 right now, so any kind of feedback, very good. All right, so thank you for joining us today. Emily and I are, let me start with, my name is Louis Borquez, and this is Emily Shoddick, and we work for the American Psychological Association in DC. We work with a tool called Academic Writer. So Academic Writer is a tool that helps students write research papers, specifically in APA style, and help pretty much keep and create references in APA style as well. So what we'll do today is we'll go through how to access Academic Writer through the library. I'll show you a little bit of so we have 3 centers within Academic Writer, one to write, one for references, and one what we call a Learn Center. The Learn Center is just to learn about APA style, right? So we'll go into all the 3 centers, and then we'll go into specifically the reference center to create a reference, so you guys can experience how to do that. And then we'll go into the Write Center, and we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll start a fake paper, a demo paper for you guys to use, just to get some like hands-on experience, all right? And throughout this, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to stop me. I tend to like go a million miles an hour. So if I'm going too fast, like slow me down. All right, so let's first start with accessing Academic Writer. So if you guys can navigate to your Employer State Library website, and from there, you're gonna click on databases. So let me know when you're there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and then from here, once you're here, you would scroll down and choose Academic Writer, right? All right, so you are in the Academic Writer homepage. What I want you guys to do first is create an account in Academic Writer. So you'll do that by going to the Welcome tab here, select Login, and it's gonna either ask you to log in or create an account. So if you click on Create an Account, it's a pretty simple form. First, last name, email, a password, and then it's gonna ask you to check off some terms and conditions when creating an account. So when you do create an account with Academic Writer, it's creating an account from My APA account. So what this would do is once you guys graduate from school and lose access to the actual tool, even though you still won't be able to use it, you'll still be able to download all your papers and the references you create. So you have 2 years from the day you graduate or lose your tuition services, right? All right, so let me know once you guys are actually logged in. I think it's just taking a little.
Yeah. Separate. Right, it is separate.
Yeah. All right, so now when you're in Academic Writer, just I want to show you like an overview before we actually get into the centers. So this is the homepage. From here, you'll be able to navigate to the Learn Center, the Reference Center, and the Write Center. Besides being able to do that, if you guys go here to My File Cabinet, this is where we keep your references and your papers, right? We also have My Favorites, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But before we do that, let's go to the Welcome page and go to Site Help. So in this part, it's just literally to do that. To get a little more help on Academic Writer, we provide some resources that our team at the APA have created for you guys. So stuff like adding an InText Citation into Academic Writer, creating an account for the first time, or something like even getting started within Academic Writer, but I don't. Getting started with Academic Writer, right? Besides being able to download a PDF pretty much and this would get you like some of those help tools. You can also go to our YouTube channel, and within the YouTube channel, we have some, short videos on inserting references, getting started with academic writer as far as starting a paper, and then we have some longer recordings of webinars that we've done in the past, specifically the one for Introduction to Academic Writers, what we'll be doing today. All right, so moving on from that. So now we are in Academic Writer. So if we navigate to the Learn Center, in the Learn Center is a place, it's what we call a digital media library, and where we house different resources to help you understand about APA style and the writing process in general. We have quick guides, which are short videos about APA style. So if you browse by topic really quick, for a quick guide, we'll be able to see something like the mechanics of style. So about hyphens in APA style or italics. We can even see a short video about basic setup of an APA style paper, or something like how a title page works in APA style. If you click on show details of any of these, what you'll get is a brief description of the video you're about to watch. You click on the video will start. You're also able to get a transcript of the actual video, and this also links you to the publication manual. So if we click on the publication manual, we'll be able to get like contextual material in the publication manual. So basically, it really depends on what we are looking at. So in this case, since we're looking at references, we get navigated or sent to the reference part of the navigation, of the publication manual. All right, so besides quick guides, we also have tutorials. Tutorials are longer videos, usually between 30 to 40 minutes. And these not only talk about APA style, but just writing in general. So how to avoid plagiarism, how to find a reliable source. And again, same kind of layout. You'll get a description, you'll be able to view your video, and see the transcripts of the actual video as well. So besides being able to view videos, the Learn Center also has quizzes. So these quizzes are just like any other quiz that you can take. For example, this is specific quiz right here is on citing sources. And once you read the description, we'll also be able to navigate to different parts of the tutorial. So before actually taking this quiz, we'll get like a refresher on secondary sources or personal communication. So if we actually click the quiz, it will take us to the question. And what this does is we basically get 2 attempts per question. So we submit once, we get the wrong answer, we submit again, and this time we'll get the correct answer plus an explanation why the answer is correct. Now, the self-quizzes themselves, they don't have like a final grade or anything. So it's just as you take the quiz, it's acknowledged checkpoints. If you know it, great. If you don't, I'll give you an explanation. And again, if you need more help, you can always go into details and go exactly to where you're actually like lacking like knowledge. So besides being able to view videos and quizzes, Academic Writer has one of the better features in the Learn Center is samples. Now, we have different sample papers here. So if your professor requires you to write something like a literature review, you'll be able to view 2 different samples of literature review papers. If it's something like a case study, for example, same thing. You'll be able to view an example of a paper of a case study. Now, besides having sample papers, Academic Writer also has sample references. So in this case, if we are looking at something like a book here, actually, you know what? We'll start here. Within the Learn Center, you can also search for things, right? So if I'm going to search Twitter here, I can see on the sample references, I have 2 samples of a Twitter reference. So in here, this is sampling a Twitter page, and this is an actual tweet. So this is just tells you like how you would tweet, how you would reference a tweet. So this is just pretty much the Learn Center. It has a bunch of different things within there that just help you understand more about APA style if you're lacking some things or if you just want to find out a little more. But honestly, like one of the most helpful parts is the sample papers and references, because sometimes just being able to see a reference before starting and knowing what actually goes in there might get you started. All right. So before I move on to the Learn Center, out of the Learn Center, do you guys have any questions about this? Susan, you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So moving on from this part, this is a part where I want you guys to actually go in here and start creating stuff. All right. So the Learn Center has just all these media library stuff that you can view APA style and how to write in general. But the Reference Center is where you manage your references and you create references. So let's create a reference. So the first thing we would do here is select create a reference or add a reference, and we would figure out what kind of reference we're looking to do. So if we are looking for something like an audio-visual media reference, and we want to actually reference a YouTube video, or for example, a podcast, we can select like audio podcast, and that's how we would start that. Again, there's Twitter here. There's also Facebook if that's something that you're actually using as a reference. But in this case, we'll start something very simple. If you guys just go to journal article, this is how you would create a reference in Academic Writer. So it makes it a little simple for you because it's all just about filling out forms, and it tells you what is required. So for a reference type of a journal article, what's required is the author name, basically everything in this section right here. So the author last name, the initials of the author, as well as the year of publication, the article title, the journal title, and the first page. So what I want you guys to do now is fill this out. So create a reference, just put your last name there, your initials, any random year of publication, any random title of an article, including a journal name. So I'll do this on my end.
Also, in that authorship, I always forget to point this out, but in that drop down, you can also select if it's like a organization author. Yeah. Right? Right here.
Oh, right here, group, right?
Group, yeah, there it is. Okay, so if you have like a group author like American Psychological Association, you can choose that and then type it into the box.
I'm gonna go with okay. So before we move on, what I want to show you is, all right, so you're here creating a reference, right? And if you need, at any point, you need a little more help to understand that you're actually choosing the correct reference, within Academic Writer, you'll see a bunch of question marks. So if you click on the question mark, you'll be able to get a little more background on what exactly you're doing here. So in this case, this form is to create a reference of an article published in a journal. Easy enough. So you'll get a little more feedback or explanation on what was actually in the authorship. But one of the rules about APA style, specifically when creating a reference in the title, is it uses something called, it's called format in sentence case. So basically what sentence case means is that your title, the first letter of the first word is capitalized, right? And everything else after that, it isn't anymore, right? So if I would click on format in sentence case here, this is telling me that it's reviewing this. You'll need to capitalize proper nouns, all that good stuff. But this formats it for me in the correct way. So before I had everything capitalized, so now it's just reading that first part of the title. So if I keep scrolling down, the same thing goes for the journal title. So if I format in title case, there it goes. It formats it for me in the correct way a title should be formatted. And another useful thing to write within the notes is if you're doing a lot of research and you just want to make sure that you keep your stuff together, like if you're working on paper for a specific course, so it might be a good idea to just either put your professor's name or the title of the paper you're kind of working on, right? So when you're looking through your references and everything else, you just want to pull a list of all the stuff you're working on. If you search whatever you put in the notes, you'll be able to find everything together. So I'll give you an example of that. So I'm just going to go. All right. So if I add a reference, this is telling me I am missing the publication here. All right, so this is the pop-up comes up and it tells me it's formatted in APA style. At this point, I can edit my reference, add another one, or go back to a list of my references. So I'm gonna do that. So if you click on, go to my references, you will see a list of references that the reference you just created. So you should see, I created one that's called Emporia State University. Whatever you guys created should be on there, right? So besides being able to create references through the forms, if we go back to add my references, we can also import references from other reference managers, right? So if you guys are using like ProQuest or RefWorks or anything like that, if you guys are working from that website, a lot of those websites, or the majority of them, have the feature that you can export your references out of there and put them somewhere else. So this is that part. So if you're working from EBSCO or Mendeley, you can choose the origin of the file and just upload the file that you download from that other website. And finally, you can also update references, and this is what I guys also want you guys to do. You can search our PsycInfo database, right? So if you already know pretty much what you are searching for, right, you would, let's see, bees. So this would search within PsycInfo database, my keyword, which in this case was bees. But if you guys already know what you're actually looking for, you would put the entire thing, right? Because this is just an entire search of everything, right? So if you guys would do this with me, actually, search anything. Doesn't matter what word you use.
So this is just to clarify,
Yes.
This, I just want to be clear that this doesn't search, doesn't give you access to the full site. It's just, since that is an APA resource and we maintain it, this allows you to pull references straight from those data. So you wouldn't come in here to, research these, do your research on whatever your topic is in PsycInfo, and then you would come here and search for those specific articles that you already have. So it's just a time saver, so you can pull those already formatted references straight in. So, but right now, we're just showing you this so that you can pull some references in.
So that's exactly what I want you guys to do. Once you search a term, I want you guys to just select a couple random references and add to your references here in the top. So once you do that, you'll get a little pop-up that says that the selected references have been added to my references. So that's where exactly we're going to go now. So if you go back to your reference center, you'll see that the references that were added should have been there. Now, quick question for you guys. Do you guys, any of you have in the references you just added to your reference manager, this exclamation mark? All right. So every once in a while, when we transfer references from one reference manager to another, or sometimes even in PsycInfo, not all the references transfer over correctly, right? So this is telling me that I have to go check this. So if I edit reference, it's going to tell me that I'm missing, please enter the first page. So I just pick any random number, and there it should be, yeah, page 23, where I just added right there. So prior to this, the actual reference wasn't in APA style like format yet until we added the page, right? So once that's done, we're good to go. So this is pretty much your reference center. I mean, from this point on here, once you have a list, a collection of references, you can select a few. If you're done with them or don't need them anymore, you can delete them from here, or you can export them to those other reference managers as well. So before we move on to the right center, do you guys have any questions on the reference? Nope? All right. Susan,
May I ask a question?
yes.
I had a hard time loading the Zoom program, so I came in a few minutes late. Am I supposed to have a password to get on here?
Oh, to Academic Writer?
Yes.
What you would do is just go here to the welcome screen, log in, and you would have to create a username.
Okay. So I'm doing the educator
Sorry,
free
create an
trial.
account. Sorry.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, so when you just you would create an account, and what that would do is that it will allow you to access your references, your papers you create.
Okay, so this is not something that I'm accessing through Emporia.
Well, you are accessing it through Emporia, and your university paid for the service that you had, right? So I'm going to show you here. If you go to your library website,
Okay.
and from here, you go to databases, you scroll down, and academic writers right here.
Okay.
So you, in an ideal world, all you would have to do is type academicwriter.apa.org, but because your university pays for this service for you, you would have to access it through your database. This way, well, Academic Writer knows that it's already paid for and you're good to go.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you're off campus, you'll have to probably log in first with your Emporia credentials, which will then authenticate you and then take you to Academic Writer, where you still need to have your own personal account to save your papers and references.
Okay, thank you so much.
Of course.
I actually have the link. Well, I have like a bookmark on my laptop, and I'm able to.
I'm not sure if we lost you there.
You have me.
Oh, Noel, right?
Noel.
Yes, I'm
okay.
Noel.
Oh, and you said you left the bookmark?
I didn't say that. Someone else said that.
Oh, Susan.
That was Susan.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right. Okay.
All right, disconnected there on me when I was.
Nah. It happens. It happens. Okay.
Anyway, I was just saying, if you bookmark it, that's worked for me where I don't have to go through the library first if I don't want to. So that's just FYI.
Question for you: when you bookmark, what actually are you bookmarking? The actual site, or are you bookmarking this link right here?
I went to the link where it would, that homepage, and then I bookmarked that. And when I click on it, then I'm able, of course, I think it automatically logs me in, my laptop does, into the ESU.
Okay, that's why, yeah.
But it just goes directly there is all.
Okay. Yeah, okay, perfect, yeah. All right, so now we're gonna go into the right center. So the right center is where you do just that. You write your papers, and you can also view papers that you worked on in the past. So what we're gonna do now is create a practice paper for you guys. So if you guys start at the right center and select write a new paper, the first page you'll see here is sample templates. So if your professor asks you for something specific, like I mentioned earlier, if they say, we want you to write a lit review, you'll get a little bit, 2 blurbs about, or bullets here about what an actual lit review is. But at this point, if you want to view a sample paper, you can click on there. But what we're going to do today is we're going to create a basic paper. So if you guys can click on basic paper and select student assignment and hit submit. So at this point, we'll put in any random title. And select start writing. So as you enter there, you'll see a little pop-up that says, if you need any more help, you can always navigate to the site help to get more resources on getting started with writing a paper in Academic Writer. We'll hit OK. So the first thing you'll see is like where you write. It looks like a pretty simple like word processor, right? Like something you guys are used to, like Word. A little less feature heavy, but still there as well. So what we're going to do besides work on this paper, the first thing we're going to do is create the title page. So if we click on title page here, you'll see that the paper we initially created has the title I gave it here. I can go back here and edit the title of my paper at any time. And at this point here, I can also add a running head. The running head is just a shortened version of the title. So let's add a running head. Okay, I'm gonna add a random date. And this is what we put it here for is to select the due date or the day of submission. As well as a professor's name, a course number, and the course name. And I click on save.
It didn't point the date.
Nope. Oh, it's like a way feature. All right. All right, so I'm gonna hit save. You can also go into the author section and type in your first name, your last name, so they know who the paper is from, right? So I'm gonna do that here as well. And select, scroll down to the bottom and save author. So I have to do affiliation as well. I'm just gonna go with APA. So what I want you guys to see how the title page looks. So if you guys go here to the preview button, click on that and you'll see that the title page has been created. So it has my name of my paper, the author, the school, which is, you know, in this case, I just put APA, and the title of the course name, and professor, and the day of the assignment is due, or the day that I'm actually submitting it. You'll notice at the top that it has the page number here, as well as the shortened version of the running head title, including the actual running head here. If we scroll down to the second page, we'll see that we're on the second page here, and you'll also notice that it removed that running head portion. In APA style, the title page requires you to have, or the first page requires you to have this running head title, but every page after that doesn't. So this is one of the advantages of using this versus going into Word, right? Where you have to like add the page number, then, you know, go to the, header, figure out that part, and then enter, you know, put all your title stuff, right? So this makes it easy by just like simply filling out a form. How do I go back to title? And just putting the information you actually need. So besides this, what we're gonna do now is add those references that you guys just added. So what we're gonna do is scroll down to the bottom, and you're gonna click on add new reference. So this is gonna link us to the reference manager where we had all the references we created. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select a couple here.
Scroll down below the body.
So I'll go back and show you. So going to the body, and it's going to be right here, add a reference.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so click out of the preview back to edit. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah. Yeah, the preview is basically like a picture of your paper. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add references and just add anything you have there. I mean, at this point, we're just doing it for an example. So once you select the references, you're going to add to your paper. And once we do that, you guys can just click on this little X button, and it'll return you to the body. We scroll down to the bottom, and then we'll see the references we just added to our actual paper. Now, I'm going to show you how to actually, oh, one more thing before I move on. Besides doing this, you can actually add your different sections here if you just click on this add new section. So I'm going to go with like the intro, maybe add results, or it really depends on whatever your professor is asking you, right? Or how your paper is being constructed. So from this point on, if we were into a huge paper, like maybe 4 or 5 pages, or a lot longer, we can navigate by just selecting each part, and I'll show you that right now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave this paper. I want you guys to stay there because I want to show you how to actually add in-text citations. So I can navigate to this part by going to go to my papers, and I'll see a list of the papers I've actually worked on. So this is a sample paper that I created, right? If I scroll down, I'll see that I see the design process, where you can see that here, step 1, 2, 3. As I scroll through my paper, I'll be able to go through the sections. If I just want to go to the figures, I can just click there. And same thing here, draw out my paper. Now what I'm going to do now, actually, I'm going to add my references to this paper. I want to show you guys how it is. It's pretty easy to actually do an in-text citation. So anywhere in your current paper now, all you guys would have to do is click anywhere there. I know there's not a lot of writing in the blank paper, right? But just click anywhere in your body. And what you would do is just scroll down, select the reference you actually want to cite, and click on Cite. So you'll get a pop-up here that's going to ask you, is this a parathetical citation or a narrative? And then including, is this a quote? So if you don't know exactly what each are, you can just read a little blurb here on what a parathetical and a narrative citation are. And if this is a quotation, you would select yes. You would add the page number and the quote if you actually had it as well. So I'm going to go with no, and I'm going to hit submit. So if I can see here that I already have this paper right here cited, this reference cited in my paper. And if I scroll up, I'll be able to see the actual citation here. Now, this is a parathetical citation that I just created. If I wanted to do a different one, depending on what I actually was writing, I'm going to select a different citation here and go with narrative. I'll see here that it's already been cited in my paper. I'll scroll up. And this is a narrative citation. So that's one of the things that Academic Writer does for you. It formats things that usually you would have to go look up in the rule book, right? So a narrative citation requires you to have the parentheses on the year versus having it on the, like in this example, under the whole entire organization, or having, this is a parathetical, oh geez. And this is, has a citation within the parentheses. All right. So another thing that Academic Writer does also for you is there's a rule in, yeah, this is a good one. There's a rule in APA style. If you cite a reference that has multiple authors, the first reference requires you to have all the authors' name. But the second reference and after that, I'm going to cite here, it just does it, for example, Austin, Porak, and Dunlap. In this case, it does Austin and all. So this is one of the rules in APA style, that your first citation requires you to name all the authors. The second one, just shorten it up and put the group. So what if I was just like, you know what, I don't want the citation here anymore. If I delete it, it actually recognizes that this citation was done somewhere else and fixes this one for me. So this is all the rules. Like APA style manual is like a huge book that has a bunch of rules that when you're writing, right, it's those little things that you have to remember. And what we do here with Academic Writer is we try to make that easier for you, right? So you can concentrate on your paper, and whenever you need something like reference something or cite something with your paper, we try to make it as easy as possible. And if it's not, like I said earlier, there's a bunch of help within here. So this question mark here, I can find more help. So I did a basic paper here. I can get a little more help on like what could go into a basic paper, but I also get writing advice about headings, about reference citations, and how to add in all the other good stuff. So if you guys are ever lost, just look for the little question marks within here. But you can always reach out to us at any time. And I'll go into that in a little bit as well. All right. So one last thing I want to show you before is that we do have a collaboration feature here. So if you're working in a group, right, we have two different types of permission, a reviewer and a collaborator. So if you guys just navigate to the top here under Edit, Preview, and Collaborate, click on that. The reviewer is just that. It's like read-only permissions, right? So they'll be able to make notes, but not necessarily like fix any of your paper or add anything. As a collaborator, you can do just that. So if you want to add a new user, all you would have to do is click on the user, select what kind of privilege you want to give them, enter their email and their name. And they'll get an automatic email to them like you've been added as a reviewer or as a collaborator to the paper. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually assign a portion of my paper to one of our collaborators. In this case, I have Sansa Stark as one of my collaborators. If I scroll down, I'll see that an email is automatically generated to Sansa saying, hey, you've been added as a collaborator. You are in charge of step 1 and step 2 of this paper. And if I just click on assign, they'll get an email sent out. And I'll notice here that this section has been assigned to Sansa. Now, if I actually go back, wait, refreshing, you'll be actually notice here that these green dots turned orange when you assign it to someone, right? So if I scroll down a little bit from here, I'll be able to see that my step 1 and step 2 are grayed out. And this is because it's assigned to someone else. So I won't be able to make these changes there, right? All right, so you can do collaboration, InText citations. And finally, when you're almost done with your paper, you just want to make sure that what you did was okay. We have a bunch of what we call check services. So as you're working through your paper, you can check your heading orders or check orphan headings. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, the headings order would just make sure, so headings in APA Gallery headings have different levels. So you have level 1, and then all of your level 2, and then level 3 in that top-down order. So the check headings order will check to make sure that you have them in the correct order. The check orphan headings will just make sure that you don't have any like random kind of dangling headings.
So if I make this a 3, right, this would be considered orphan heading?
If you have, yeah, if you don't have another level under
so this would be level 1, this is level 3. So this is considered orphan heading?
If you have, that would be out of order.
Okay.
So if this is out of order, if you have 1
oh,
and then
heading,
3.
checking heading orders.
So the headings order would catch that.
All right, got it.
The orphan heading would be if you had like a level 3 and then nothing else under it. So you should have multiple headings. Sorry, I'm doing my cards to explain it. So you have multiple or none, basically, in one level.
All right.
Yeah.
So besides this, I'm also to be able to check the references that I actually pulled into my paper. So if I click on check references, this is going to tell me that in your paper, one of the 4 references is missing elements. So this is what I was talking about earlier. When sometimes we import from another database, not all the information is captured, right? Like maybe the title fields don't capture correctly. So this is just telling me like, go back and check. Verification needed. So if I just do that, it's gonna leave the paper. It's gonna tell me where it's missing the first page. I'll add a first page. I'll update the reference. At this point, I can see the actual new reference with the page number. And at this point, I can keep editing if I want to add another reference, but I just want to return to my paper. And then at this point, I can see that all my citations are good. The next thing I want to check is to make sure that, I mean, in this case, I know I only have 4, right? But if say I had like more than 20, right? I just want to make sure that everything that I have on this paper, on these references, is actually cited in my paper. So if I check match reference citations, I'll hit run now. And this is going to find the citations, that the references I haven't cited within my paper. So this is just telling me I haven't cited it, right? All right. So I'm done with my paper. I want to export it. I just want to show you quickly how the paper would look with the references added to it. So, and I think you guys can actually do this at this point if you preview it because you already added your references as well. So if you preview it and go to your last page, you'll see the list of references that you already created, right? So this would be pretty helpful. I know like some professors ask students to just go and make a reference list before getting started. So this would be like an easier way to do it, right? So you create an academic writer and then you can just get them off here. All right, so once you're done with your paper, you can hit export. And at this point, you can email a Word doc to yourself, or if you just want to download a paper, you can always download it as a Word file or as a PDF. And I mean, that's pretty much academic writer, you know. It's a little more involved in this because this is giving it an overview, right? And as you get more experience, you'll be able to do a little more in this, but it's a pretty easy tool. Like you write your paper here, you're able to cite, make your references, and then when you're ready, you export. You know, sometimes it's helpful. Like this has a okay spell checker, but not the best, right? So sometimes it would be a good idea to write your entire paper, have everything formatted perfectly for you so you don't have to worry about doing it in Word. And once you just download a copy of it, you know, open it up in Word and just do one last scan to make sure that whatever you've written is grammatically correct and all that other good stuff. So, any questions?
You like that? Yeah, go ahead.
It'll become easier. And
Oh, yeah.
I know you just like first started, right? So one of the things that we always hear is like, when was this when I was in grad school, right? I'm sure like 2 years from now, right? If I would have shown you this, it would have been like, I wish I would have known earlier, you know, but it helps.
I know. I know. Yeah. And especially if you're new to AP style, just now you've already created a title page, added references to a paper, added some InText citation. So those are like the main formatting components that you're just taking care of. So now you can just focus on writing the paper.
Which is the hard part, right? Because, I mean, usually if you have a book with you to make sure that everything you're doing is correct, I mean, that's hard as it is, right? Especially like realistic, right? As you're writing your paper, getting closer to the deadline, like you don't have enough brain power, right, to do both things at the same time. So just another thing that just makes it easier for you. Do any of you guys online have any questions for us?
No, this is a pretty impressive tool.
All right. Oh yeah, true. All right.
I am so grateful to not have to figure out how to do headings on a paper in Word again.
I totally understand.
So at any point, if you guys need any type of help within academic writer period, you can always go to the welcome and go to site help. You can scroll down, site help here as well, but our email is here. And our actual team, academic writer at apa.org, consists of myself, Emily, and a couple of other of our colleagues. So anytime you guys have a question, I know like this is a lot coming in here now, especially being like late in the evening. So once you get started and you kind of forget, just need a little refresher, you can just reach out to us at any time. You know, email us like, hey, how do I do this again? Or can you just send me something to get started? And we can help you guys out. All right. All right, y'all. We're done.
Thank you so much.
Do you guys have any other questions before we end the Zoom meeting?
No, thank you so much.
Of course,
Thank you.
anytime. Thank you guys for attending.
Thank you.